Oh, good afternoon. We're right now. We're burning we redid Larry redid the stairs to the deck, and we had a whole bunch of rotten wood, so we wanted to get rid of it. Uh, Plus, we're also going to be going through and weed eating and doing a whole bunch of yard work, and we want to be able to have something to put it on. So anyway, you know, so I got to sit here and watch this. I guess I want to do a follow-up for yesterday because I've gotten a few responses from a lot of people about it. The concerned, I guess, with me. And I just wanted to kind of leave everyone with a positive note, okay? I got a little emotional yesterday because sometimes reliving that, it does hurt, but it's not, what do you call it, not avengeful, no, that's not the word I'm trying to use, but it's not something to where it affects my daily life at all. As a matter of fact, I had to break the log yesterday up into two parts because of the fact that I started talking about something, I drifted into that subject, and I figured it'd be better if I separated the two because that's a very important subject. But I dwell on it, but I don't want to say I try not to, but really I don't really think about it all that much. Because it's like there's no sense in dwelling in the past, right? Nothing, no matter how much you cry, no matter how much you think about it, it's going to be very hard to change, right? So you can't at all change anything, and again, this whole idea, like I mentioned it yesterday, about going after people who did things like that and legal stuff, that's more heartache. It's basically like revenge, right? They hurt you, now you want to hurt them. That's not right. The whole point that I was trying to make yesterday is to realize that some people don't have the same type of control over their emotions that I did, and so I'm sorry. I gotta see if you can see that. Don't want to let it get carried away. Okay. Yeah. I don't hold anything against anybody. Okay. I want to get that up front right now. I think, we're adults. I mean, if you went to school with me, right? I mean, I'm turning 40 in 15 days, or May 5th. Somewhere in there. I think it's the 15, 16, somewhere. I don't know. But anyway, turning 40. And it's time to get a little older and move on from the past. And actually, I did that a long time ago. Because there's no sense in holding on to it, But part of me, like I think it was Lauren Groshong, one of my friends who I went to school with, mentioned that she goes to school and she sees that at the school, and it's hard on her sometimes, seeing kids that are like that, and it starts with the parents, right? You have to remind your children, like I tell my son, I remind him that treat everybody with respect, no matter how they treat you. You have to just let stuff roll off your back and not worry about it, because you can't do anything about it. You can't change the way people feel. If anything, it makes it worse. If you try to stand up, and it makes it worse. People say, well, if you just ignore it, it'll go away. It doesn't go away. At least it didn't for me. So just kind of, I just tried to ignore it and just do something else. So I don't hold on to it now. I don't actually have any negative feelings towards anybody in the school. I looked at it as just kids being kids. It's like when I was in the military, right? I was like that to other people too. The problem, I think, was maybe I was a little too insecure in school and I took it the wrong way. Instead of just joking and having a good time, I was one of the guys where I'd get hurt and I'd get sad and depressed and cry. As opposed to how everybody else could joke around and stuff about everything else, and Um, so maybe if I reacted to it differently, it would have been a different outcome. But you can't sit there and say, well, if you were like this, right? I guess the whole point I'm trying to make is, to let kids know that, I guess not to be an instigator or to laugh at people like that, because I'm going to be honest with you, okay? From what I've heard of these shootings at the school, they went after people who had made them feel bad or not, put them down or beat them up or whatever. They went after those people. So, I tell my son, try not to get involved in that kind of stuff. You want to keep your distance and not laugh, and, if somebody's getting picked on, go the other direction. You don't want to be seen around that stuff. Now, there is a chance, random shooting, right, just come in and, your kids aren't safe anyway. Well, yeah, but you can at least lower the chance of something like that happening. And since I was talking about shootings yesterday, I wanted to tell everybody this. Just before I came up here, I was working at a place down in Fresno. Well, it's kind of like I was a maintenance manager there for a few months trying to get everything. It was kind of like a temporary job, trying to get things squared away, get a maintenance program in place, and train the maintenance guys to be able to work on the machines. It was pretty simple equipment, so it wasn't that hard to train them. So I was only there for like 3 months. And this was it's now Apple Valley Farms in Fresno, is the name of the company that I was at. Well, back about 3 years ago, there was a shooting that happened there. There was a guy that came in. They hired a lot of ex-cons, and there was a guy that came in, and I guess he just had an off day and came in and started shooting the place up. Well, this guy, and I keep a picture of him to remind me, this guy was a guy who came in, and I remember him. I remember he wanted to try out for the maintenance team, and I was like, yeah, hey, we can always use the help, and even if you're willing to learn, if somebody's willing to learn, I can train them. I mean, it's not saying anything about me, but it's just if somebody has that willingness to learn, my thing is always the book, right? Get the book and work on it. As long as you got the book, you'll remember stuff like that. But anyway, so this guy, he was really trying. I mean, he wanted to do things the right way, but sometimes trying in an industrial environment isn't enough. I mean, I've got to be real. Sometimes you have to know certain things you should or shouldn't do. There's safety precautions you got to be aware of. And so it just came down to that, I had to reject him. I had to say, I'm sorry, but, we're going to put you back in production. We just don't think you're a good fit for maintenance. Well, it happened maybe about a month after that is when the shooting happened, and I left 2 weeks after that. And it was just weird because who's to say that he wouldn't have came in and shot me, and I wouldn't be here right now. And it's kind of like, it's really an eye-opener that sometimes, even though it was really hard how I ended up here in the first place, because I lost a lot of stuff, I was, I'm not going to lie, I had everything I could have imagined or ever wanted, and it's all gone now. It obviously wasn't important because I wasn't focusing on the Lord, but sometimes when the bad things happen, you got to realize that you may be avoiding situations that you never knew would have happened. And sometimes when people are at the end of their rope and they don't feel there's any option left, there's two different kinds of people, I feel. Well, three, I guess. The first type of person would be the person who gets angry, and instead of getting sad and depressed and like there's no hope, they get angry and they want to take that revenge and that anger out on somebody else, which is why these shootings occur, which I believe that. The other type of person is a person who will just, by the way, all three of these are, they're suicidal, okay? So I want to get that up front. When you get to a point where you're suicidal and you're at the end of your rope and you don't think there's any hope, I feel there's three different reactions to it. The first one's going to be, like I said, somebody who's angry and going to take revenge. The second person is going to be somebody who is just totally silent, acts perfectly normal, and then the next thing you know, they're dead. They commit suicide. They don't let anybody know anything. They just, you had no clue that it was going to happen. The third person is the person that I fell into. And that was a person that would get extremely depressed, sad, cry all the time, very emotional. And then eventually you start voicing the fact that you're thinking about suicide and then actually attempting it. Albeit I did, but I did it in a way where, like I keep saying it before, people say, well, I'll take a whole bunch of pills. I took one pill, I think it was every 15 minutes or every half hour. I started at 6 in the morning when I got to the duty station, and I got to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I just collapsed, and because I was so out of it, I told the administration officer what I did, and they threw me in the hospital for 2 weeks and psyche eval and all this other stuff. But you don't know how that person is going to react, because a lot of times that stuff is inside of them. The only one that you would have a clue on is number 3. But those aren't the ones we need to pay attention to. The ones that are going to hurt themselves and not hurt anybody else because they don't want to hurt anybody else, those are the ones that you can notice the most. But they do no damage. It's the ones that keep it to themselves or keep it quiet that you got to be careful of. Now, some are dumb and they put it on Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and then you got people that are reporting them. Okay, that's great, but you got to remember is if you fall halfway between 1 and 2, you're not going to tell anybody, and you're just going to plan it and just follow through on it. And that's why it's so hard to judge somebody's character. Phone call. Hello? Sure, no problem. I actually have a big bonfire going out back. We're burning wood from the deck that we replaced, so I can't leave right now. Everybody else kind of left already, so I'm going to be here by myself for the next couple hours. Yeah. It runs perfectly okay. So, and I already detailed it out. It's nice and clean for you, so it's ready to go. Okay, well, that's no problem. It's here for whenever you can. Yep, whenever you're ready. All right, well, thank you very much. All right, talk to you later. Bye. That was the guy coming to pick up the Tercel. He told me he's going to be a little late. Man, it actually, I don't like the Tercel because I heard some horror stories about the mains, but that actually doesn't look too bad. Honestly, and it's got a 1.5 liter engine in it, so it's going to get some good gas mileage. Yeah, and it's actually looking pretty nice. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I think it's, you don't want to. But here's the other thing. I wanted to mention this because when you have somebody who has suicidal tendencies, there's a danger. Let me put it this way, okay? Somebody like me, when I was in that hospital for 2 weeks, okay, at the point when I collapsed, I realized I didn't want to commit suicide, but I was so down on the situation with my now ex-wife and my best friend starting a relationship that, because most of you may know, I didn't have a girlfriend growing up in high school. I had one that meant the world to me, Sarah, and I won't mention the last name, but there was a secret crush going on since 5th grade. Oh man, that memory's so bad. It was the Challenger explosion. We were watching it I was in first or second, third, fourth, 5th grade, and it was Valentine's Day, and she gave me this box of chocolates, but there was no name on it, and I had no idea who it was, and I was like, okay, cool. I kind of thought it was a teacher because, I was always the lower part of the class, and so I thought, wow, maybe the teacher did it, or somebody did it to kind of embarrass me, because it was a little embarrassing when that was the only thing that was in my Valentine's Day box. And then come to find out all the way through my senior year and after I graduated, just before I went to boot camp, my little going away party before I went to the Marines, Literally the night before I had to leave the next morning at around 6 or 7 to go to MEPS, boot camp started the next day. That's when she told me that, yeah, I'm the one that gave it to you. And that just like, I was like, wow. And that was like my first girlfriend, okay? But we were only physically together for maybe like 6-7 hours before I was off to boot camp. And then for close to a year and a half, when I was in boot camp, and then after I went to my aviation academy school, you know, it was a great relationship. But then, because of my tendencies and lack of or wanting to get the attention, you know, there was another girl that was really nice to me, and I threw away that relationship, which I shouldn't have done. But that was a choice that changed my life, honestly, forever. That was the worst mistake that I ever made in my entire life, because that was set up by God. I mean, this wonderful woman, we went to church all the time, and you know, I was best friends with her brother, and it would have been a totally different life than where I am now. But is it sad to think about that? No, because look at where I am now. I don't have a lot of stuff, but look, I'm in a position now that I prayed for. I prayed for being able to just help out and you know, just being in a spiritual environment, and this is awesome, you know. So I don't have any negative feelings. But the thing was, is when I did that, I ended up. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, we went on a trip I was over in Phoenix, and I was going to go up to my mom's, who was living in Eugene at the time, to visit, because this is after, I think it was after my Memphis, when I went to NAS Memphis. And I stopped off in Phoenix, picked up a friend and his girlfriend, and she had a friend, and I was like, yeah, let's go, because I love going skiing. Yeah, there's my Lake Tahoe. So anyway, we were going to go up to Flagstaff, go skiing, and it was great. Well, through that whole drive, we were talking, and it just like, you know, I wasn't physically in Sarah's presence, and so it was like I'm so weak when it comes to that. That's like my weakest thing, because I started my first thoughts. If you've been watching these, you know what my first thoughts were back when I was in preschool. The first memories I have are of people engaging in activity like that, and so because I had that affection, or that, not affection, but that, how do you say it, the attention, the conversation that I never had before, it just broke me. You know, Satan knew exactly how to get to me to try to ruin my life. And I crushed her. And I lost a lot of friends because of that. Even though me and her we're not talking, but we're at least at the point where, you know, I'm every maybe couple of weeks we're messaging each other, just to, you know, I'm mainly, you know, I asked for forgiveness, and I explained all this, and it seems like it's not like it's going to be, oh yes, everything's great and get back in a relationship. No, but it's nice to know that there's always going to be forgiveness there. You know, but sometimes that forgiveness takes a long time. I mean, it took a long time. That must have been, well, that was back in 94, 95, I think it was. Yeah, 95. And, you know, yeah, 20 years, wow. I'm old. Anyway, you know, but I didn't realize how bad it was going to be. You know, we had only known each other for like a few days, and then we got married, you know, because I was in the military. She got hurt when we were up skiing, and she needed help. I mean, I was a stupid kid. I didn't have any, I mean, I was dumb, you know. And so there was no real basis for the marriage. But then I introduced her to my friend, and that whole thing went down, and that's what caused my initial suicide thought. But even though that, you know, I had that strong belief in the Scripture, you know, I committed an oath to her, and so I tried everything I could. You know, I tried to have the pastor come to the house. I tried to go to counseling. I tried to work on it, you know, and it got to the point where she was even, when I was in the living room, they were in the bedroom. I mean, that's, but that's how emotionally attached I get, especially to women. And so that's why I keep my distance now. you know, I really don't want to get emotionally involved anymore. That's just the way it's going to be. And it's sad to say it like that, but it's okay, because for me, that's how it's going to work. That's going to be the best. That's going to be the best thing for me to move forward from here. So, but then thinking about all that, but see, when you go into an institution like that and you're dealing with suicidal thoughts, they punish you for that, okay? And it makes it worse. They don't realize this, but it makes it worse. When you go in there and you don't have any suicidal thoughts, when you get to the point where you're like me and you don't feel like that, they drive you to it. It's almost intentional. It feels like it was almost intentional to see if you actually are wanting to do that, right? Especially in the military, I can understand that, because you have access to weapons, you have access to, I could have gotten in a helicopter and flown off with it. That's, was alone in a helicopter, knew exactly how to start it and fly it, but obviously I would have probably been shot down or killed or spend the rest of my life in prison. We don't want that. So you never know what somebody's going to do as far as inside of them, and the only thing I can do is warn. It's like, I think it was Daniel or Ezekiel, right? The watchman. No, it was Ezekiel. That's right, because I brought it up in that sermon that I did at the church. It was Ezekiel where you're talking about the watchman. If you see danger and you don't warn, then the blood's on your hand. But if you do warn, which is what I'm doing now, then you're free and clear from that. And the only warning I can give is that, yes, kids are mean, and I don't want to say it's mean. I would say more like they like their cliques and their special friends, and we're like, it's just this whole political system in school that's ridiculous, actually. It's almost the same as I was in the government nowadays. And sometimes people just are like that just because. But then to try to, your own individual children, the only way to really protect them, or at least eliminate the possibility of that happening, is to let them know, hey, the people who are like me, when I was in school, the people who actually came up to me and were nice to me, I would have gave my life for them. That's how important friendship was to me, because I didn't have it. And so when I lost my friends, it was just my life was destroyed. I could not. It almost felt like it could never recover. And then thereafter, after everything went through, and I went down to California and I started working at Kodak, and my career just took off. And it was like, it was almost like, the Lord blessed me with that, but then the feelings of greed and all this sinful stuff would come in, and then it's, you mess it up. And then sometimes the Lord just wants to say, hey, okay, time's up. Let's go put you in a different situation you can handle better. And then when you learn how to do it, we can put you back in something like that and move forward. So I don't want to make this long. Apparently, by the way, yesterday, apparently the log went over an hour and it shut off. So I think the limit on this is an hour. It's kind of cool, because otherwise I could probably keep talking forever. But I'm going to try and limit it to 30 minutes each. What I am going to do is I'm going to start doing some sermons. Because I had some interesting thoughts on the Holy Spirit in the comments I made in, I think it was 14A yesterday, about the Holy Spirit and when He was here and all that type of stuff. And I kind of like to do study on that. And so I'll do a little studying and then might come back and, put a sermon on here or something. But anyway, you can see it's wearing down a little bit there. Just got to keep an eye on it. So hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless. And really, I couldn't begin to tell all the people I went to school with how much I honestly, I miss them. I do. I really do. I can think of a whole bunch of people, and I'll name a few of them. Brendan Appleberry, he was always nice. He was a wonderful, from what I remember, he was a lighthearted spirit who was always just happy, had a smile on his face, and having a great time. Joel Drescher, of course, he was a great guy. And then a lot of the people, I know Derek DeBoer, Jared Cotto, all the people that were kind of preppy, those weren't the ones that really made me feel that way. It wasn't them. And I kind of miss them, because, the friendships that you can grow after your life's experiences can be much stronger than they would be in school. Granted, with Facebook now, it's much easier to stay in connection and probably have a good friendship, you know. But then again, I got to be real too, is that a lot of my personal religious beliefs, they do conflict with some other people's beliefs, and you know, and that's okay. But you can have different beliefs and be great friends. You know, I had friends that one was from Iran, of all places. You know, my best boss ever at Amcor, he was at Iran, and we had a great relationship because I was a go-getter. I wanted to get out there and work all the time. He had to pull me back, tell me to stop working. I was working too much, you know, but we always collaborate, and we were great friends. You know, he wanted me to go to Amcor after that plant shut down. He wanted to move out to San Francisco, and I was like, no, I don't know. If I went out to San Francisco, I would have fallen too far away, you know. So I decided, no, we're gonna head up here and come back to Oregon. So, but you know, there's a lot of things that you need. No, not that you need to realize, but sometimes people with different religions. I mean, I had a girlfriend who was Wiccan of all types. You know, people were, how could you do that? You know, but honestly, that was the best relationship I had. Unfortunately, you know, there was no spiritual connection there, but we had some great, interesting conversations. You know, and they weren't argumentative. I learned a lot about everything. You know, so you know, I am the kind of person. I mean, there's a few friends that I have on here that are mainly just friends because we went to school, and you know, maybe you want to have a whole bunch of friends and to show other people that you have a lot of friends or whatever. I think I have like 230 is it. Most of them are I either went to high school with them and they were either in my class, one above or one below, or previous workers. That's it. That's all previous friends from work. So, you know, but you know, I understand that some of them don't have the same religious views, and that's okay. And I wish that people wouldn't be so offended when you talk about religion. I mean, really, it's like the most stupidest thing to get offended at it, you know? Because if for example, I'll give you a good example, and I'm not going to go on a tangent because I'm going to cut this at 3 minutes, whether I'm done talking or not, or in 3 minutes, 27 minutes right now. But the whole thing I was trying to say was that sometimes when you have people who have different religion and you're talking, it's like, why do you get upset? You know, like, I'll give you the example of homosexuality. Okay, I personally believe that it's a sin. Okay, but then again, every sin is equal in the eyes of God. Okay, so if I have a problem with the lustful thoughts that I deal with, and they are constant thoughts. I'm sorry to admit that, but they are. The only thing that I have an advantage of is I keep a tight rein on them. Right? We don't want them to get out of control. But how different are those two sins? They're not different. We all struggle with this sin. The only thing I can say is I can't condone it. But when I was at Kodak, we went out to a bar, and there was a good friend who was he was a production guy, I was in maintenance, you know, and he was homosexual, and we were great friends. I'm going to be honest with you, we were great friends. And I found out he was gay, and I'll be honest, I felt a little weird at first because of how I was born and raised. You know, oh, that's wrong. You know, to me, I just don't find that attractive. I think it's disgusting. You know, other people may not feel that way, but, you know, and so he was trying to be nice to me, and we'd talk, but he never really came on to me. And because of my upbringing, I was straight up with him. I says, hey, look, you know, I don't agree with the way that you are, but you're a great guy, you know, and you'd be a great friend. And I told him, this is exactly how I said. I said, as long as you don't come on to me and understand that I'm not like that, we'll be perfectly good friends. And we were. You know, I enjoyed talking with the guy. You know, and there's another one that I can think of there, you know, but I drifted away because there was some advances there, and I find that rather. I don't want to offend anybody, okay? You know, but the whole point I'm trying to make is that, 45 seconds. The only point I was trying to make was that, you know, sometimes when you have those differences and you talk about them, there's no reason to get offended. There's no reason to get offended. You know, if you sit there and say, okay, you need to be like this and you need to be like that, yeah, okay, I can understand that. And sometimes, like it says in the scriptures, you got to preach like you're going to snatch them to the fire. You got to warn them because that's where they're going. That's the direction they're heading is to the fire. And so sometimes you have to really, but the other times you got to practice more love. And I think you reach more people in love than you do in hate. That's been my experience. So anyway, I just wanted to make a follow-up here and make sure that you guys knew that I'm okay. As a matter of fact, I feel awesome today. I'm over my cold, and it's a wonderful day. It's clear. Nice cool breeze, sun. So that's it. Have a good day.